right? This is the one that everyone wants to hear about.
Yeah, I mean this class is pretty insane top to bottom. I feel like they really put themselves on the map. If they weren't already on the map at the combine, they really put themselves on the map to where like everyone's buzzing about them now. And luckily for the Bears, they need a receiver, and this is a class to get one.
Yeah, they need at least a receiver,
Yes,
maybe two or
yes.
three. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at the Bears roster and see what they have at receiver currently. So pulling this up, I got DJ Moore. We all know DJ Moore's there. Velus Jones still on the roster, another 2 years, I believe. And then Tyler Scott's got 3 years left under contract, and Nasimba Webster has just been the guy you can't get rid of. He's going to be here till the day we die. But Tom, what do you think about the Bears wide receiver room as it currently stands?
Well, DJ Moore is an absolute stud. I feel like he really put himself in that conversation of like being a legit top 10 receiver last year. So, I mean, you obviously feel great with what you have in him. You have a true wide receiver one, which, a lot of teams can't say that. But the rest, I mean, they could all be replaced. You said Velus Jones has 2 years left. I mean, he could be cut next year. For like, I don't mean to
Yeah,
throw him under the bus, but like he can't even get on the field when like wide receiver 3 was pretty much up for grab last year when once Chase Claypool got traded. So yeah, if Mooney is gone, I mean wide receiver 2 and 3 are wide open. You kind of like some flashes you saw from Tyler Scott, but not enough to where like you're relying on him in
yeah,
a meaningful role by any means.
yeah. Scott, you feel like maybe he can be wide receiver 4, and you feel
Mm-hmm.
okay about it. But if he's 3, you're a little nervous. And with Velus, was he even playing any gunner last year or anything? Do you remember?
I mean, I remember there was games he was like a healthy scratch. So like,
Okay.
yeah, it's just been rough. And if you remember, Luke Getzey was like one of his biggest advocates when they drafted him, and now he's gone. So like again, his pathways to the field, like I don't know, man, it's a rough situation.
He's a big running back. That's what we
There you
got.
go. Change the running back. Change the running
Yeah.
back.
Hey man, every time he got a handoff, felt like he made a little
Electric.
noise.
Yeah. No. I totally agree.
So next we want to talk about what the Bears might be spending on draft capital at the wide receiver spot. And I mean, personally, I think you can expect a wide receiver just about anywhere in the draft given their roster situation. But what do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be in play from 9 to any point of the draft because, again, like we just mentioned, they need a wide receiver 2 and 3. Shane Waldron, I know he runs like a lot of different formations, but at his core, I mean, he did run mostly 11 personnel. And if you look at Seattle, what they just did, they have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So they were three deep at wide
Mm-hmm.
receiver, like 3 premium investments, I would say. And the Bears could be looking to replicate kind of that same formula. So I would expect it like honestly, they could double dip. They could, hit this position at all points in the draft.
And it's interesting that you say replicating that formula, and this is it. We're going to start getting into some more schematic talk here with it for the Bears, but it's because their formula, it's not really normal, right? Because usually a team who's going to run a lot of 12 personnel isn't going to have two slot receivers
Mm-hmm.
on their roster. And they had, like you said, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Tyler Lockett, two guys who are really a lot of people would box into that slot receiver role. So, do you think that that's something that you can? Bears are kind of scheme diverse with some of these receivers, where it might be a slot guy, it might be an X receiver, it might be something in between, or do you think that they're kind of going to be looking to something more specific?
Well, I think the beauty of DJ Moore is that he can be anything, right? Like he can play from the slot. He can be your Z, kind of like move him wherever you want, and he could also be your X one-on-one guy. I mean, I feel like once like it kind of took a while for DJ Moore to kind of find his groove, but once they kind of just made him the X, the number one guy, then that's when I think he started to really find his footing with the Bears. So I mean, you could do really whatever you want with him, and that kind of opens the door for all types of mold of receivers. And that's what I kind of like about where the Bears are working from right now. I don't know if they're gonna like go out and say like, hey, we need our Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think they're just gonna look at the best player and see how that fits in with DJ Moore because he's so versatile.
Yeah, and so man, we both said it there, like X receiver, Z receiver. Can you kind of describe what you mean by those for the audience and for me? Because I don't know Z well. I know what an X is, but that's about it.
Sure. So Z is just the receiver that lines up off the line of scrimmage a lot of the time. So they can be so like Z and Y can be kind of interchangeable. why I kind of think more of like as a tight end slash slot receiver, like solely that. Whereas Z, you're kind of like the speed guy, I would say. I mean, you could be used in a bunch of different ways, but you're kind of the guy that your offense wants you to scheme up free releases for you, so you're not having to deal with contact, you're not having to dealing with isolation coverage. Whereas that is what the X receiver does. They are like your one-on-one guys, like just line the guy up on the outside, let him run a slant and beat the defender across from him, and he's gonna get open every time, which is like what DJ Moore can do. And I feel like if you're looking at like Shane Waldron's offense, that was more so DK Metcalf, whereas the Z was more so Tyler Lockett, who was kind of like your vertical move guy,
Right.
whereas Jackson Smith and Jigba was like just like a true slot.
So what would you say is like really important for the Z? So you say pre-releases, so I would assume like foot speed is going to be a major thing there.
Yeah, I would say like foot speed and like option route ability, I think, which is like important for the slot too. Again, like I think just versatility across the board, being asked to do multiple different things because that's what Z is. Like you're lining up everywhere. Um, so yeah, I mean, it really depends what you ask your Z receiver to do. If you're looking at like more so a Tyler Lockett type of Z, I would say vertical, getting vertical. Like that's what they did a lot with him. At least like that's when he was at his best. So I think that, and there's a lot of options like that we'll talk about in this draft class.
Yeah, and so for the Bears, is there any traits, any things that you're trying to key in on as to what you think would really fit this scheme or fit their roster and really just be a strong fit for the team?
I think I'm always going to look for, I don't know if this is what the Bears are going to be looking for, but I'm always looking for guys who can separate. I think that is what like the best receivers, the most efficient offense you could possibly run currently in the NFL is guys that generate open throws. And I know a lot of the league is zone, right? So like a lot of guys that are open against zone, that's not really a skill. But the guys on like your obvious pass downs, on those like important money third downs, you can go to, you can keep defenses honest by having to play those guys one on one because you have so many of them. You can't really double cover anybody. I feel like that is like what separates the best wide receivers, and that's really what I look for when I'm scouting these guys.
It's funny because you say like a lot of the league is zone, but it's watching college tape, like spending all year watching NFL tape and then spending, since December watching college tape, it really just hammered it home how much of the NFL has really adopted the man match principles.
Yes,
Because it's like I'm seeing spot drop zones in college, and it's just like this doesn't happen in the
yes,
NFL anymore. So that
yeah.
separation is key, right?
Yeah, it's so key. And the thing is too, which like drives me kind of nuts about watching college film is like you're looking for stuff that's translatable with some of these guys. Like when I have to make those cut ups for some of the videos I do, it takes me so long because you're looking for examples to use how it's going to translate to the NFL. Because like you said, it's very few and far between for a lot of these guys because
Yeah.
like a lot of these colleges are just spread offenses and they're like dropping eight and like you're not really learning anything from these guys. So yeah, it can be tough, but some guys definitely flash it more than others.